What it is, YouTube. What is good, people? It's your boy Chase Black with the Black Hours coming back live again. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what type of content you guys want to see. So today's topic, we are getting on about the intimacy with an image, and that's basically idolatry. Success is the top one. Men, we lust after these things. I struggle with intimacy with an image and success and having what things look like then versus where you're at. This is where we can get really caught up on what things look like, what things need to be, and wanting things and idolizing these things more than where we're at and trusting the process, let alone finding your faith and trusting God at the same time. And nowadays, a lot of people put their faith into a lot of worldly things when you got muses and vices and distractions and addictions all around, phone being one of them. Even consuming good content can be an addiction to where it's a vicious cycle. But mainly the one thing that I wanted to get on, and something that I think some men can resonate, I resonate with, at least just with myself, I won't say all, that being intimate, or at least idolizing or idolatry, is just intimacy of an image. And that goes with everything. We can get caught up on what things look like and what things should be, and even down to our self-gratification and our self-worth, our self-love. All these things can be so grandiose being, and that we have all this control, when really you don't have all the control. You can create all these things and manifest, but that takes action. But even then, you're not the ultimate, you're not the end all be all. When a lot of these things, we can feed ourselves with spiritual junk food and really dig deep and find things to affirm our feelings and emotion and things outwardly and externally, just to thrive us in the ways that we want to be in. And you can go find what you want. Is it what you need? That's the real question. A lot of people today, including myself, we get caught up. I get caught up on the things the goals that I want. And sometimes you have to just let go. Majority of the time, you have to let go on the goal and more so just be in action. Being in action will allow you to be more humble, and humbling yourself on what it is you're going through. You need to humble your ego. We constantly feed our ego on things that we think that are bringing our self-worth, but it's really just kind of diminishing our return. It's kind of a little death that we kind of end up having every time we're constantly having these little addictions, these little sugar addictions, whether it be from Instagram, and all these different tools that we may use to feed ourselves. Now, mind you, dopamine is a good thing, and this is where you get into the whole addiction side, but it's mainly, people think dopamine is dealing with just pleasure, where it's actually in a sense of the reward of something. So that goes with goals, that goes with success, that actually finishing and accomplishing things. But this is where the idolatry can really come in. Today's world, we're just constantly idolizing what it is, what that success looks like. We want the house, we want the car, we want the girl, we want all these things that to look and fit a certain image. We're so obsessed with status, and we're not obsessed with what we're doing. We're not obsessed with what we're doing and making sure that it's a place that's self-serving versus it being selfish. A lot of people tend to think that they're selfless, but it's really they're selfish. And you see it in a lot of these communities, whether it be in church, whether it be the spiritual community, New Age. They all want to have these grandiose thinking, and as if they just have all the answers, and no one has all the answers. You have to be constantly seeking truth and seeking to understand. So at the end of the day, that means you're constantly humbling yourself. But we've built this world to where we see these images and think that is what we want. And we lust after it. We're so mimetic in our desires that we basically are imitating our desires of what other people are desiring. So we're not even having our own sense of natural desire. And that's the wild part, that we're getting it from places that don't even feed us. We're getting from emptiness. We're feeling ourselves with just empty air. Granted, yes, you need oxygen, but we're not even giving ourselves the room and the space for anything, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and just even relationships. We'll allow all these external vices and everything to come in. We'll idolize them so much. We'll put them on such a high pedestal, and they become our new gods. They become, and I always say, what you value is what you worship. So I think it's important that we need to understand what we're valuing, what we're worshiping, and what we're putting ahead of ourselves, and what we're thinking, deeming as something, even if it's good. We need to make sure where we're at with it and where we actually spiritually stand with that, and emotionally. We can be so addicted to having things look a certain way, and then having to want to feel a certain way, and hang out with certain people to look a certain way, date people to look and feel a certain way. And when you're not even real yourself. You're not even being real with yourself. You're just idolizing this whole image, and you're just basically putting on a facade. I think people have gotten so comfortable with facades and fakes. Basically but to me, it's like everyone's playing a big game of catfish. Who can look the best? It's like a beauty pageant of catfishing, whether it be on anything. Everyone's got all these labels on Instagram and social media and calling themselves these things, but when you really meet these people, they don't even humble themselves to even think that the label is just a label, and that's not what they're all about. That you kind of feel a sense of discernment with them, and most people are just pretending to look like this healer and this lover and self-love, and that they have such this care. But I mean, I'm guilty. I've been in these groups before, and I've seen how these people, their shadows are long. Their shadows are long. And we all have shadows. I myself, we all have a past. And it may not be defines you, but we're run away from something, and we're run towards something because it feels good, and we'll idolize that one thing. And so I mainly wanted to get on because I was just thinking about some of the things that were going on in men's group, and I have a small men's group, and we're constantly just putting accountability towards each other. We're constantly humbling ourselves. We're constantly finding out things about ourselves, but more importantly, we're coming together as brotherhood and really talking about the things that we want to shape different and do different and be different. And I have a great friend of mine. He said, the only thing change need is change. Change doesn't need anything else. It doesn't. You have to change in order to be change. And so with that, even just that can be an idol. You wanting this whole change, and basically you'll omit yourself from actually excusing yourself from doing the things that you need to be doing. And you can be paralyzed. And you can be paralyzed by all sorts of things that you can literally put yourself before yourself. You could put people before you, and that'd be your new idolization. And at some point you have to think, is this healthy for me? Where's this going? Is this leading me anywhere? Why am I putting this so above me? And why is it mine allow this to have so much more control than allowing to see what the world really is in front of me, and not allowing to pull my spirit and my emotional health and my mental health onto things that don't even fulfill me. Men, I mainly often see that us men, we lust after women. It's wild, and that's not every man. Not every man is with that, because I will not create that comfort, because not every man is like that. There are a lot of strong men out there who are not worried about women, because you know why? They're chasing the excellence. They're chasing greatness. They're wanting to do the work and really humble themselves day in, day out. And that's what most men tend to do well at, is that when the world does come down in their past and in their current life, whether it be divorce, relationship, career, success, even sports, right? They tend to rebuild themselves. Whereas a lot of people, there's this fake world that there's this idolization of rebuilding yourself and putting it out to be received for yourself as gain. And I think a lot of people who are placing themselves as, whether it be called a healer again, and they advocate for all this change, but they're not even doing the work themselves. They're not even being righteous themselves, matching to the justice. A lot of people don't give order to the justice that they righteously so call. Most people won't stand on that hill and die for what they value. Most people value more people than they are loyal to their values. They'll change their values just because they idolize a relationship, or let alone the feelings of things and affirming themselves and manifestation. And I just don't agree with that at all. And I've been guilty of in that space, that community and whatnot, but those are spiritual junk foods, like eating sugar all day. And at some point, you're just gonna get tired and be burnt out, and you're putting all these other things in front of you that they're taking so much more control of you. They become your God. And and then you realize why you're so weak, why you're so low, why you're so tired, why you're attracting certain people, facades, like fake people, or people succubuses who take your energy because they see probably the light that you cast. I told someone the other day, I said, she went through a very tough time of a relationship she had. And I told her, she saw a lot of people come out. She saw a lot of people come out who weren't there in the picture before, basically trying to destroy her and her mental and emotional state. And but she kept everything private. She kept everything private, but it allowed her to open her up to people instead of other things that she had been using in advice. And the main thing I told her is, like, when you shine, you will cast a shadow. You will. You will cast a shadow. And when you are really doing the self-work, when you're really putting it outside of yourself and putting into values that you want to adhere to and walk into your character, yeah, you will cast a shadow. You will have haters. You will have people who don't like you, who don't agree with you. And that's perfectly okay. Because what it is, the majority of the time, you're causing a mirror that they have to face. And the only thing they can project at you all day, but the main thing that they have to come into fruition with is that who they are and who their character is. They can blame all the circumstances to everything, but they have to look at their character. So, man, I say chase the success, but don't chase the image of it. Do the things that are fulfilling into your purpose and that are doing more than just for you. If it's for your family, for other people that you don't even know, whether it be just to fulfill somebody in their life, find the fulfillment. And, for me, it's a lot of things can be just dealt with God, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay where you can push yourself into a new light and really be vulnerable. It says in James 4, patience with your suffering. And you have to be patient with that. And at times in our suffering, we have a very vulnerable and weak moments. And I'm guilty of it as well. And how I usually get out of those things is just by really going back to what brings me back to my nature. And I think a lot of men need to get back to their nature. Stop lusting after women. Women, we put women on these pedestals that as if they serve us, and they don't. And you have to think they're beautiful creatures. God made them so beautiful. It's inherent. But we have to understand that even comes with the territory, and that needs its own parameters. Most of these women out here are not moving as spiritual as you think they are. They're moving with the lack of spirit. They're moving with the lack of knowledge, and they're moving with their ego and their self-love. Most of these women if you look on Instagram, they all take the same pictures. They all want the same validation. You look on their comments, they say they're helping people, right? But look at their comments, look at their culture that they're breeding, and that you can see where it's at. And sure, you can say there are the exceptions. I think there are girls who do actually do work, but when you look at it, when they're all taking the same photos, the same selfie is the number one taken photo. Number one. And you have to think who does that the most? Women. And so they're lovers of themselves right now, and the narcissism is just very abundant. So you have to think they become their own gods. They've idolized themselves. They idolize Instagram. They're in relationships with Instagram and social media and every other and internet following that's not even real. They're so delusional and so far gone that they fell in love with basically a pure phone. If you really took down your phone and looked around you, you could see how many, think about how many girls are actually present in their day-to-day and not so phone addicted. Phones become idols as well, guys. We're all guilty of it. And I know you have to do emails and all those things, but it's finding a way to tamper that to where you don't lose your identity. And a lot of people are losing their identity in idolatry, which is basically how they want to look like somebody else. No one's being original anymore. No one's being authentic, may I add. No one's really being themselves. They see somebody else, they copy. They do the same dances. They do the same slang. They follow each other. No one really wants to go against the thread. And when you do people that supposedly against the thread, it's a look. It's more of a look than it is really going against the grain. More people are scared to go against the grain and get ostracized and actually be authentic with themselves and with other people. They'll follow their herd and get fattened up and for the slaughter instead of being one that can serve and actually have a flag that they can plant on and build their own shelter. But the thing is that everybody wants to create the same thing that everyone else is doing instead of just doing what God's put the purpose here on for you. Everyone's out here looking for other things and intimacy with the image, the success, to look a certain way, to be the perfect Christian, to be like the self-healer, like that's just so mimetic. It's like most people think they've reached this whole enlightenment. I don't think I've reached anything. I think the more and more I dig deeper with myself, I realize how much more of a shitty person I am. I'm not worth anything. I am worthy of things, but I don't really see myself as a person that's constantly trying to be like somebody else besides myself, and really finding the true nature of it is with people. If anything, giving people that same motivation. I'm a natural motivator. And that's just something I always have because I've always been loyal to values than I am to people. And I enjoy being around people, but it's more so getting them to be more loyal to those things and connected to those things to where they can then navigate this world. Most people are navigating through a lens, a filter, a bypass. You talk to people, people are scared to even have real conversations with you. They think they're so emotionally intelligent that they can't even objectively look at the world. They're so scared to even look outside of themselves, and they're scared to pull away from that. I had a girl tell me she had a hard time separating Instagram and real life, that it was causing her distress. It was causing her to gain weight. All these things. And maybe she blamed it on a whole bunch of other things, but she knew she had a problem. And I think a lot of people are seeking Instagram as therapy and putting their information out there, putting all that stuff out there. And it's one thing to be serving people and trying to motivate and get them to see something, and whether you convince them or not, it doesn't matter. It's just more so I'm just sharing thoughts and information. That's the way I look at this. And this is the stuff that people don't see, people don't talk about, the unforgiven, the unspoken, the unpopular opinions. Because mainly people want to serve themselves and not serve other people. Majority of the time, 9 times out of 10, a lot of people are serving for themselves than it is for serving for other people. People want people who actually look like they have to help people, like they're helping people. Some of them are. I'm not saying all, but 9 times out of 10, you are finding people who are wanting to have the looks of things, to post it, to retag it, and having their face be on it versus the person that actually is doing the work, whether it be losing weight, whether it be actually going through some type of spiritual journey. They're wanting everyone's story is being told. I get that. But we've gotten to a point where our stories have become so narcissistic that it's so important that everyone's got to have a voice. Everyone's got to have one. And it's just like, no, your story's already being told. You're walking in character right now. You're playing the main movie character. So you have to stay focused on humbling yourself versus trying to be a celebrity and actually trying to be a celebrity and gain following, or actually trying to help people who are naturally just and gain influence, where those are two different things. And a lot of people are just seeking for status. They want to look a certain way. They want to feel like they have power, and everyone has power. It's just a matter of how you yield it. So, guys, come back to nature, come back to yourself, give yourself more power, and believe in yourself. Give yourself purpose, find it. It takes time, but trust the process. I know it's so easier said than done and repeat it, but Trust the process and trust God. Seek to understand. Seek truth, y'all. Peace.